UIManager.instance.gp. Here we go. And we were going to do silent sign in. We don't pass anything, we just call it. So right here, if the user's played already and they've signed in, they get prompted, or if they have played already and they have signed in, it'll just automatically bring them in. No notifications, no nothing, and then those leaderboard and achievement buttons will just automatically work because now they just show it. The thing that we want to try to do, and the thing that we should do, is we should make it so that if the user specifically signs out, like, according to Google and the branding guidelines, if you want to use their icons, you have to provide a sign in button and you have to provide a sign out button. They go a step further with it and they say, if your games are intended for kids or individuals under the age of 13, you shouldn't have game service stuff in there anyway. If it's targeted for a broad audience, you should have them. But you should have, specifically a sign-in button, a sign-out button. You shouldn't have to dig for it, all these things. And so basically the way it works is you want to try the silent sign-on because the user doesn't have to do anything. If they've already signed in once, then clearly they're okay with being signed in. And it works every time as long as they haven't signed out. And Google keeps track of all that on their end. If they do sign out and silent sign-in comes up, it just skips over it. They're still not signed in. So at that point, they would need to sign in manually. And how do they do that without a sign-in button? So I did create 2 sign-in buttons, and we're going to try to get into storing the logic, or storing a key, let's say, whether or not they're quote-unquote, agreed or disagreed or, whatever we want to call it, to say that, okay, they've signed in, they want to just go silent sign in, and then we do it, or vice versa, they've declined. So, and then show the appropriate button. So in order to do that, we'll have to add a button to our UI. We'll have to control when it's visible or when the alternate is visible. So that'll be a little more involved. So for these initial tests, and given this video is already getting quite long, we're just going to get it working. So try silent sign-in, and then everything should work. So we will stop here for a moment. Alright guys, so we're just going to go ahead and get to work. So let's just go ahead and get some buttons in here to use for the sign in, sign out. First thing we'll do is disable the fader image. We'll go to the game canvas panel, which holds all of the other panels except for the player select canvas. And we will expand the title and menu panel. Let's select it and crank up its alpha so that it's in view. We will disable the logo canvas. So under the category of buttons, we've got the large play button that's stretched over the entire screen. We've got our shop, settings, leaderboard, achievements, and rate buttons. So we're going to add a UI button. We're going to go here, we're going to change this to 2D. We're going to start by making the square. We're going to crank it down to something more reasonable. Yeah, a little bigger. That looks about right. We're going to change the sprite. I've added a sign in and a sign out button in place of a left and right circular arrow buttons that I had on my atlas. The text element we will just delete. And now we have a new button. Most of these are centered to the bottom center. We'll do the same so that they stay in line. I'm holding Shift and Alt when clicking this. Excuse me. We'll control while dragging so we get a nice snapping value. And this, there's a UI at the top, so we can't handle that there. Having just one here is going to look pretty lopsided. We can't just sub it out each time. We can use the same button, just change the sprite for sign in, sign out. Or we can put them on top of each other and disable them and enable them appropriately so we're pushing the right button. Try to keep the spacing the same as in here, since these should be matching size-wise. This is at 168 by 143 from our bottom center. Yep. 168, 143. Put it in manually. Alright, so this is our sign-in button. This is the button that is only going to be visible if they're signed out. And the only button that's going to be visible here in its place is going to be the sign out button when they're signed in. I just duplicated this button. We're going to name one sign in. We're going to name the other sign out. We will register their on-click events in script for the methods, but we will register the click sound method from the UI manager here. So we'll select both of them. Click new, runtime and editor. We will pass them, here, you know what, we'll close this and we'll pass it the fader canvas as the parent. UI manager, play, not coin sound, what is it? Play button clicked sound. So, and then all of these have this except for the giant play button, because it's just a click to start. So these all have a sound. The colors are all neutral. Even the select colors, they're all default. So these will be fine. So let's go back to the UI manager. Let's add some new buttons. I would like to keep this somewhat organized. Let's see, I'm going to grab this space in this header. I'm going to come down some, add these back. Let's see, let's change this. Google Play Game Services sign in and sign out buttons. Okay, 2 new buttons. I will not make you guys set through any more ridiculous commenting. So, and I'll try to speed those up in the video when I get done with everything. So, my apologies. I'll also try to provide some annotations on YouTube. That way you can skip around to different sections. And as always, I will provide the edited scripts. That way you can save yourself a lot more time and just do that. Let's see. Okay, so we got the buttons in, so we're going to go down to Start. Go ahead and start registering these to an on-click event. And we'll just go ahead and do it right before all of these large marked areas where you guys had it, or that were there for when you guys got it, and you know there weren't any social services integrated. So sign in button dot on click dot add listener. This will be a manual sign-in. So GPGS sign-in. Sign out button dot on click dot add listener. GPGS sign out. All right. This is here. Our little area that disabled these buttons and made them non-interactable. You know, if social integrations already was not checked, we're going to go ahead and add these to that too. So we will just copy and paste them in, just change what we're doing to them. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what, guys? Here, we can just copy and paste this from here. Try to speed this up. And here, I'll copy and paste true as well. Okay, so now those will get disabled along with it. Because they are part of the canvas, let this all compile and load. Okay, because they are part of this title menu canvas group, it's taken a little while, apologies. You know, they'll go out with them. So it will look a little lighter though because there's two buttons there. I forgot, since they go partially opaque, that you know, that'll be okay. The basket rate and settings buttons will all be white, so it may detract a little bit from that one being a little off. So we won't worry about that for now anyways. Alright, so they enable and they disable properly. They have methods now too for signing in and signing out. So now it's time to do some start logic. So back to the game controller. We said call main menu happens, we want to try a silent sign-in. But we only want to do that if the user has not signed out. Let me think for a second. Alright, so after we have that done, pardon me, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to handle deactivating and enabling the sign out and the sign in sprites. So I think that for now, what we'll do is we'll do that within the callback for our GPGS methods that we wrote. So let's go back up to those. We'll do the silent sign in first, because that's the one that we want to do the bulk of the lifting. Okay, so sign in, silent sign in. Okay, so if success, since we're calling this first, we want to disable the sign in button. And we'll have to do this by its game object component. Otherwise, we'll have to either add a canvas group or drill down into it and actually reorder it. You know, otherwise, because if it's still there and it was the one on top, then you know, just disabling the sprite or doing something less than that is still going to have it block raycast. So short of putting a canvas group on it or doing some reordering in the hierarchy via code, you know, we might as well just access it as a game object and you know, do the set active false on it. So we'll disable the sign in button that way, and we will enable the sign in button. If we fail, we will enable the sign out. Oh my gosh, sign out button. And we'll disable here the sign out button. So if we do that way, and we get a silent sign in success, we know that no matter what, if there's a failure here, we'll have our sign in button enabled. And it's going to try this regardless. So if we're authenticated, or if authenticated equals false, so if we're not signed in, else already signed in. So with already signed in, we're going to do the same thing just to be careful, be safe. We'll be redundant about it. So we'll do the same thing as success. We'll disable the sign in button, and we will enable the sign out button. Now with the sign out, we are going to, so if we're authenticated equals true, we sign out. If we sign out, we want to enable the button. And if we're doing a, we'll go ahead and do both of these redundantly too, and all of these. That way there's no possibility of missing what we need to accomplish. So end here. So on sign in, if for some reason we are already signed in, that is correct. Failure, same thing. Trying to sign in, we're not already signed in. If it fails, wait a second. Try to sign in. You know what? I messed up here. This goes in success. Okay, now we do the opposite. Okay, so sign in fails. Disable the sign out button because we're not signed in, and enable the sign in button. Okay, so that should be a fair way to handle that. And we'll go ahead and write this out in a minute. Actually, no, we'll do it now. So, sign in button dot game object dot set active false. True. And actually, we'll go ahead and restructure this so that we can pretend that all those little comments I just put in were in fact that. So, sign out button game object set active true. I believe, yes. See, sign in becomes false, sign out becomes true. We'll do the opposite. Alright, so now we got one of each. So we're doing disable sign in button. Enable sign out button. This is going to be the same for all of this one because this is just the silent version. Okay, so sign out disabled, sign in enabled, sign in disabled, sign out. And that will be the same for the bottom here. And actually, we'll just take all of this. Okay. So that side should cover that. This is the sign out. So if we are signed in, we sign out. If we're signing out, no, these are reversed. Did that wrong. So if we're signing out, we want to be able to sign in so that they can do it again. We want to disable the sign out button because we're already signed out. Alrighty guys, so that will at least take care of whether or not our sign in or sign out button is active. I'm going to do one other thing down here at the game controller for the try silent sign in. And we're going to say if application dot, let's see, platform runtime platform equals runtime platform dot Android. Then we try the silent sign in. So this will prevent it from even trying to do so in the editor. Even if the build platform is set to Android, it's runtime platform, so that's what that's for. Let's see, so we've got that happening. Alright guys, so at this point we've got a few things still that we need to do before we get on to actually creating the logic and the methods that are going to unlock our achievements. One of the things I would like, if you notice at start, the Boolean that takes care of whether or not it should enable or disable the achievement leaderboards and now sign in, sign out buttons. Those just determine whether or not they're interactable, so they would they're still visible. And we discussed how the one would be extra vibrant because they're two partially transparent buttons on top of each other. So that's not really the issue. One thing I would like to do though, maybe we should do some platform dependent compilation to say, hey, if we're not on Android, you don't even need to go this far, So or even take some of this out, but we're not going to deal with that at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to create just a way to post our maximum height to the leaderboards. And then we're going to go ahead and build to device and test everything so far. And then we will come back and we will, we'll check from there. So we're going to go to the player controller because at this point, let's see. Actually, the UI manager might handle the actual writing. Let's double check real quick. We'll go to our game variables. The game variables holds all of our static variables and the ones we write to player prefs as well. So our highest distance far, we're just going to select it and we're going to go to find. Yeah, I thought so. This is the slow update. This keeps our UI updated in the UI manager, but the actual writing takes place in the player controller. Let's see. Ah, you know what? I did move it to the game controller like it should be. Okay, so it's actually in the game controller. So this method is in the game controller. So what we're going to do, number of rounds played goes up. We can, when we start creating our methods, our monitoring methods we probably will do in the game controller, and then we'll just call to the UI if we're supposed to be pushing an achievement through to completed or post into the leaderboard. So that seems like a fair way to do it. So if game variables.player distance far, this is our per round variable. We reset it at the end of each round, so we know it's just good for a round. If it's greater than the player player highest distance far, then we're going to update it and write it to disk. So at this point in time, we are also going to post it to the leaderboard. So UIManager.instance.GPGS post leaderboard score. This will take an integer just like we're setting. So since we already assigned game variables.player highest distance far to game variables.player distance far, which is the round. So we're taking the all time and we're assigning it the round variable since we did find that the round variable was higher than the distance far. And then we write it to disk under our farthest distance key, and we give them the new one, the variable we updated. At this point in time, they're both the same, but to keep with the convention, we are going to use the most recently updated variable as well. I am not typing game variables.player highest distance far. And that is it. We pass it an int. It turns it into I think a long we've seen that it did over there. So now we know this will happen. This is where we will do one platform dependent part though. We will say if application dot platform equals runtime platform dot Android. And we'll do that here and only that because the GPGS method checks if it's it already checks if it is signed in or authenticated. So we will leave that at that for now. What we'll need to do is that callback method, the delegate, the Boolean delegate. We need to handle failures. We could handle failures by denoting the score that was pushed, the date and time using the system, date and time and datetime.nows and everything. So we can note the value, the time, and we can notify the player, and then we could also write that condition to disk and try to set a flag to say, hey, upon next connection, we need to try to make that push. Or we can at least notify them, hey, there was some sort of error. Really sorry for you. But again, right now we're going to stop. We're going to see how things are working thus far, build out, and then we'll come back to everything, and then we'll start getting some of the other logic in. So I can't think of anything that's really going to hold us up right now. We've already got the Google Play services done in the console. We've got everything in, everything's signed right. We don't have any errors. We have the one warning, but I don't think that's going to cause us any problems. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to minimize this. We'll double check the console one last time. We need to put the splash scene back in the proper state. So the title menu needs to be faded to 0. The fader image, and actually we'll do the logo canvas first. We'll turn the logo canvas back on. The fader image needs to be enabled, and that is back in its original form. So we'll click it. We'll apply these changes to the prefab since we have new buttons now. They've got click events. They're getting, they get their methods to call, and then we will select social integrations are ready, so that those buttons are at least active and ready to fire off to show the leaderboard, show the achievement screen. And then the last thing we do here, and I should have done this before we applied the changes, so I'll have to do that again, but we need to go to the title menu panel and we need to drag in our sign in button variable and our sign out button variable, and that should be it. Now we will go ahead and apply this. We're going to go ahead and hit play just to make sure that it keeps its reference, even though there shouldn't be any reason why it doesn't. Okay, so I double clicked it obviously. Alright, so everything's in. Apply. apply, even though we didn't touch the logo canvas. We will save the scene, save the project. I am going to go to Build Settings, Player Settings, so I can increment the version, because that's always a requirement. Each time you upload to the Play Store, you have to increment the version and the bundle version code. So I will go ahead and assign this. Make sure I got this password right. Both of these are available. Okay, BK. All right, so that is there. We will go to build. I'm going to build this as 9.7. Save. Now I will go ahead and upload this to the console. And I'll do that before I shut this video off for now. And then this update, it can take a little time for Google to get it active. But I'll go ahead and push it now, and then, maybe an hour or so I'll be able to download it. My email address is on the tester account, so we should be able to check everything out. So I'll make sure the webcam is in a position to where we can look down at the phone. I'll make sure the screen's nice and dim, so we got good contrast and everything, and we'll see how things work so far. So, all right, let's get the developer console pulled up. We will go back to all applications, SwingShip, go to the APK, and we'll okay, guys, so this is uploading. I got this sped up a little bit. Just so you know, one thing I did have to do, the video had frozen, and so I couldn't actually catch it on film. It turns out that I did have to go ahead and publish the game services under the second tab, not under the APK, but under the achievements and leaderboards and everything. So I just had to grab publish up in the top right corner, and then here we're just filling out the changelog and checking everything, and then we'll get it uploaded, wait for it to publish, and then I'll be able to to show a video of the result. One other thing to note, I did everything did push successfully. We were able to post a score to the leaderboard, but there was one thing that I didn't consider when we were coding everything, which was when you hit a sign in or you hit a sign out, it hides or shows the appropriate button. But on start, if the silent sign in does happen, it doesn't go through that logic appropriately, because or maybe it needs to be double checked. Something happened though, because on the very first launch of the app, never having logged in with this game, it silently signed me in successfully. Now I don't know if that's because I'm on the tester account, but we're going to need to check that with another device to make sure it's not just automatically signing everyone in, because that's not what we want to do. So we just need to make sure that the sign in sign out button is showing up properly, because as you can see right there on the screen, we're actually signed in right now. This time it didn't show the the bar at the top showing my username and everything, but it did the first time, because this is actually the second time I've launched it. But as you can see there, I don't have any scores on the leaderboard yet, because I haven't actually played the game with it installed, or with the services activated. So checking the achievements, that's all of our achievements. None of them unlocked. I only played a couple times, so I couldn't, I didn't collect any gems or anything in this video. This was just an initial test to allow us to check to see, hey, are we getting a connection and getting logged in? to log in and sign out, which obviously that part didn't go that well because it forced a silent sign on. So we'll have to make some adjustments. But the other thing was to test the score posting and just to see overall where we were at right now. The final video to get everything, to finish getting everything in place is going to be a lot easier, a lot shorter than this big long portion has been so far. So my apologies on the autofocus. The camera is really crappy, and I didn't see a way to actually set it to a macro mode or anything like that on that one. So, but yeah, so there is, and here I'm showing you the leaderboard, and the score was posted. My score was 32, and now it's on there. So we're getting there. Couple more changes, additions, and then it should be the first time and the final time, or I'm sorry, the next time and the final time that we do a test run. It should be solid and good to go. So when that happens, I'll wrap up all the scripts and everything, and kind of have a second package for you guys. So that way you can just use it or work from there, as opposed to having to do all that typing or even watch all the video, because it's extremely long and a lot of it's just mumbling and slow typing. So all right guys, we'll get back into Unity here in just a minute. Alrighty guys, we're back in Unity now. And I did in the video I had mentioned that the sign in button was showing when we were already signed in, though I did discover or realize what that was. When we were creating our sign in buttons, I simply duplicated the sign in button after I created it to make the sign out button, and I never changed the sprite. You can see how this is extra dark because they're both partially opaque. So if we go to buttons and we go to the sign out button and we actually remember to update the sprite, you can see that you can see this one because it's selected. This one is obviously there too, but that's what was going on. So it was actually showing the correct buttons. When we silently signed in, this was a sign out button, and when we were signed out, if we hit this, then it was a sign in button. So that part worked fine. The only part that did not work the way we wanted was that the silent sign in happened without any authorization. I don't know if that's if that's because it was my account that was testing it and I'm an authorized tester, but we're going to go ahead and put a check in and write a value to disk to say, hey, if the person is logged in, if we have auto login checked, then yes, start silent sign in. Otherwise, don't do it. Then when it comes to the main menu, they'll be prompted with the sign out button. That should work okay that way. And we'll also run through a check to make sure that the sign in button is what's present when we, after we do that check if they're not signed in. So we're going to go ahead and get into doing that now. So we're going to go back to the title menu, take its alpha back down, just go ahead and apply these changes that we just made to add the sign out sprite. Save, go back to Visual Studio. I'm going to go down to the game controller at the bottom where we're calling the silent sign in, and this is what we're going to do. So if we're on Android, we're going to say first actually we're going to do player prefs, actually we'll do if player prefs dot has key, and we're going to pass a key name, and we're going to call this we're just going to call it should auto login. Then we go down here and we say we'll just say int temp auto value equals player prefs dot get int, because we'll store it as an integer. We'll do like 0 for off, 1 for on, get int should auto login. We won't set a default value because you know, we want a specific one, or we just want to say, hey, don't auto sign them in. So now we have this. We say if temp auto value equals 1, which would be yes, should auto log in, then we will call our silent sign-in function. We'll go ahead and do an else if here because we might come up with another conditional for the else. Temp auto value equals 0. Then this will be our you know, our do nothing, but we're actually going to call something here to make sure that we prepare the leaderboard, or I'm sorry, not the leaderboard. We prepare the sign-in, sign-out button so that they're in their proper state. So if we've never done a silent sign-in, which is where we're handling our success-failure logic and enabling and disabling buttons, then obviously we want it to be set up with a sign-in button and not a sign-out button. So we'll sneak in another little method right here, and we'll say public void set buttons for sign-in. And we will just say, or actually, you know, we'll just copy and paste these from up here. Sign in button we want enabled. And the sign out button, we want to disable it. And then obviously if they hit sign in, this will happen, you know, and it'll show a sign out button, you know, make the sign in button visible. Then if they do sign out, but either way, if they do leave it as auto logged in, we have the key there, then it's just going to come through and do the silent sign in like it did before, and then it's going to show a sign out button properly this time because we got the sprite in there. So we'll go back to the game controller and we will say else. Actually, we'll take out the do nothing because we are doing something. We'll say UIManager.instance.set. What was it? I know buttons is in there. What did I call that thing, guys? Let's see. Set buttons for sign in. Yep, there it is. Okay, so set buttons for sign in. So, yeah, actually, I think that's fine. So now, if the key does not exist, then we're going to call a regular sign-in process so that they can say either yay or nay on the manual sign-in. And then if they, you know, depending on if they, you know, what they click, then, you know, we're going to respond appropriately. If they say okay to the manual sign-in, then we will pass it over to the regular sign-in method. And if they don't, we'll set the auto key to 0. So, but either way, we have to set the auto key, at least on this first launch, so that we can, you know, we can say, hey, here, we'll go ahead and set it here so that we can say, hey, next time, just roll right in with a silent sign-in. So we'll do playerprefs.setInt. Key will be should auto login, and the value will be 1. Okay, if it's already 0, we don't have to set it again. Let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? That's silly that I'm doing that there. We won't set that again. Actually, we'll take this. We'll take this, because on the first run, it won't have this key. So, we'll do else. If there's no key, we'll go ahead and set it to 0. Because this would be what would happen the first time they would log in. We don't want it to auto sign in, so it will become 0 at the end. and then this will never come up again as long as this key exists, which, it should, unless they remove all the player prefs, which if that's the case, then to start the whole logic and writing the values over, it would still be in the desirable state. They log in the first time, and then it's auto. So we do else, the value equals 0, and then we will prompt for a manual sign-in. Sign-in button. We'll just call it. Oh, that's the value. GPGS. That's why we threw all those in front of there. GPGS sign-in. So that does a manual sign-in. On first run, it gets us a value of 0. And then we're going to set values via these as well, I think. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, guys. So we're going to go over to back to the UI Manager and our GPGS functions. We're not going to do anything in the silent sign-in. We already have a check, if we have the 1 or the 0. But in the regular hard sign-in and the hard sign-out, we're going to set the values. So if they go through authentication and it's a success, the last thing we're going to do is write the auto login value. So we're going to say player prefs set int, which I believe we set as should auto login 1. And if there's a failure, actually we'll take the whole thing, Control C. If there's a failure, we will set it to 0. So if they cancel or any other thing goes wrong, we'll set it to 0. That way they do have to, they have to be met with that sign in again. Now the right thing to do also is to put some sort of an attempt count. That way if they get stuck in this endless loop where, hey, they don't want to use Google Play services clearly, so leave them alone. We're going to double check to make sure we don't have any behavior like that. As of this moment, we don't, but if we get into a situation where that could become a problem, a surefire way to solve it would be to use another value written to disk to say an attempt count, like, hey, sign in. They say no. Okay, hey, sign in twice, even 2 times may be too many, but we need to make sure we leave them alone after they make a decision. So in this case, they're prompted with sign on. If they don't succeed, they get written 0. It doesn't try silent sign on. And the only other time that it would be that they would try to sign in is if there was not a value, which we're going to give it 1 if they choose no. And then it's going to set the buttons to say, hey, they can sign in if they want to. So we should be good with all of this. The only other thing we have to consider here is that we have a success and a fail for the manual hard sign in. For the sign out, we need to set that value to 0 as well. So we are going to grab this. We will go to the set buttons for sign in. Oh, that's our other method. And then right here, we will do player prefs.set int should auto login 0. Because if they sign out most recently, we don't want to auto log them in. So that should take care of our sign-in flow. Something must have changed between Google Play Game Services, because it used to be when you set a silent sign-in, you had to at least get in. The silent sign-in would be turned into a regular sign-in. You'd say, yes, okay, go ahead, pick your Google account, on your phone, and then you wouldn't be prompted again. But throwing that extra parameter in the silent sign-in seems to actually, evade all of the actual checks. So now we have to store this, have this logic on this side. There is also, you could probably use base game utils or the game helper methods that come with GPGS to tweak the behavior or the sign-in attempt or anything like that. But I don't want to mess with their package. It works. We just have to We just have to create a little extra logic on our side to, you know, to handle the fringe cases. So I'm okay with that. So no other platform stuff, has key. We've got an if and an else here. All right, this looks good to me, guys. So now we will move on to the achievement logic. So let's pull up our notepad again. Okay, so crash within 2 meters, get above 100. Okay. You know, we will start with the gems first. So let's go to the game controller, set player prefs data. So we're right here for this. This is in regards to the player distance. This is the gem number, or the gem number. Temp gem num equals game variables dot player highest gem score plus the current player gem score. Game variables dot player highest gem score equals temp gem score. All right, we'll sneak our logic in here. We're going to check this value for the in around, the 15 in around, and then we'll check our highest for the 5, which, you know, they should get that pretty early, so that shouldn't really be an issue. So, you know, we're just going to throw the conditions in line for now. So we probably could create a few methods that do, you know, a varied form of checking, but, you know, this is just easier to do it this way. So we'll say if game variables dot player gem score, not the high score, but the gem score, this is per round, is greater than or equal to 15. Then we'll call UIManager.instance dot GPGS. We're going to do the unlock achievement. This takes an achievement ID. Remember, this method just takes them instantly to 100, so it just does unlock for anything we pass in there. So we're going to go back to Unity for a moment. Let this tell us we're screwing up by not finishing our code, but we're just going to jump over here to the scripts. Our let's see, SwingShip GPGS IDs. Get this pulled back up. Okay, so 15 gems in a round was the getting that money. Let's see, so what was the other money when I said making bank, maybe? Making bank. So that's got to be it. Obviously, we can be sure, just double check, but game services, SwingShip, achievements, making bank. Yep, the 15. So that is the proper one. So we'll put that in our clipboard, and we will pass that to our achievements method. Now, you know, we could say, we could also store some values to say, hey, they've unlocked this achievement, don't do it again. But the truth of the matter is, you can't unlock an achievement twice. So, you know, this is, you know, this isn't much extra work just to have this in there. So we won't worry about that for now, because we're doing just a basic, you know, a basic approach here. So, all right, the next thing we're going to do is say if game variables dot player highest gem score is greater than or equal to 5, and this is after, you know what, this one we'll put right under our last assignment before we write it to disk. So if we're at that number, you know, after the stored ones in the current round, so as soon as we get to 5, boom, we give this one. So UIManager.instance.GPGS unlock achievements. Oh, I guess we could do it this way. It's the gem one right here. Oh, you know what? We clicked it. Oh, that's great. Let's see. And there. So that'll take care of our two gem versions, or gem ones. We'll save this out. Buy your first ship. This one will be a little odd in the sense that the player select logic and the player select canvas are all handled in the player select scene. I want to add it to the giant fader canvas, but for right now it's just not. So all the actual purchase code happens in player select canvas. So automatically we set P0, which is player 0, unlocked, and we push in a 1 for yes, unlocked. So they always get that ship. Now the moment that they get any other ship, they're going to they're going to be capable of getting that achievement. So if they have the money, then it'll go through this process. So because again, it's not really that big of a deal calling it twice, we're going to go ahead and call it again because we're keeping this really simple. So they can't unlock an achievement twice, and they can't post a duplicate score or a lower score to the leaderboard, so it's not a concern right now. Achieve. Let's see, GPGS unlock achievements. And that will be, let's get it out of here now. Moving on up in the world. Making money and buying a new ship. Okay. So that's that one. These should be able to be done pretty easily with the distance covered. And these will be done pretty easily with the the round play. So let's go back to the game controller. It's done at the top. Number of rounds played gets incremented right here. So, and when we pull it from game variables, this is one of the ones that just gets pulled straight from player prefs. So when we call upon this number in this static class, boom, it just gets a value from disk. So this will be a good enough place to do it because it'll be the current value. It'll get incremented and it'll get written right down here. So actually we'll do it just right under the right. So we'll say if game variables dot number of rounds played. How do we want to do this? Each round will be incremented and eventually we'll get to the exact number. So we could say when they get to 10 rounds we'll unlock it. So we won't do the greater than or equal to, because obviously if we did that at 10 then we would hit 100 and 1,000 instantly. So we're going to say they have to be right on it. Obviously they can't play 2 rounds so quickly that this code's going to be missed or anything like that. So that'll be fine. So if game variables dot number of round played equals 10, and this one will only get called to once, so that'll be nice. So it'll be UIManager dot instance dot Google Play game services unlock achievement. This will be for our 10. These are the SwingShip beginner, master, and experienced pilot, I believe. Let's see. We'll double check the secondary one. So we will paste this in here. That's beginner. Experienced pilot is the so that's a fly one. That's what I was thinking. So we've got SwingShip Master, SwingShip Pro. That's the second one. Okay. We'll go ahead and put that one on our clipboard. SwingShip Pro is the second. and that is for 100. So we'll go back to exactly where we were. And we'll say if game variables dot number of rounds played equals 100, then UIManager.instance.GPGS unlock achievements. Pass in the achievement ID. And we'll do this simpler this time and just copy and paste this. Add a 0 and put in the right ID. Oops, sorry guys, I'm tweaking out here. SwingShip master. Wrong one. Alright, so we'll save that. That covers all of these. The only thing we have left is our distance traveled. And these are going to be in a round. Yeah, okay, cool. So, what we're going to check on this, at least for the crash one, and we'll go ahead and do this with the others too. At player death time, when it checks to see, hey, is our current distance greater than our max distance, we're just going to check that current distance because that'll be round distance. So whether it be crash or it's worded this other way, get above 100 or get above 500, then this might be a little bit trickier, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So let's look at these. Player distance far. Do it right before, because player distance far is going to be our round variable. So we'll do this here too. So if game variables dot player distance far is greater than or equal to 100, then we'll just copy this and paste the new one. We'll do a check at the end too, or around all these that says, hey, if UIManager.instance GPGS is authenticated, because there's no reason for us to call these if they're not logged into Google Play. So the 100 meter achievement, let's see, what was that one? Okay, learning to fly was the 100. Okay, we'll do another one of these. We'll make it for 1,000. This one will be a little cruddier because it'll, anytime we're in a round and we go over 100, it'll be calling this one. But, again, we can unlock them twice, so it'll be okay. Normally, I would keep some sort of list of integers within player prefs to do double checks on them if they've been unlocked already. But in a situation, sometimes it's better not to do all those checks and just make sure that you push it through. That way players don't go without achievements. Because I can guarantee you the minute a player strives to get to something and then they're not rewarded, and you don't have a system that picks up the slack and makes it so that they do eventually get their achievement without having to do it all over again, they're going to be pretty upset. Even if it is just for something as trivial as a casual game. You would be surprised. Get above 500 meters. I was wrong. This is not 1,000. 1,000 was for the round only. Okay, so that's our 100 and 500. And then this one will be if game variables dot player distance var is less than or equal to 2. I think that the thing just says less than 2 meters, but that's dang near impossible. Bad driver. Crash your ship below 2 meters. Okay, well, for some reason they only get to 0 or 1 meter, then this one will happen. So, all right. Copy and paste this one again. We'll grab our last ID, and then we are done, guys. We'll go ahead and push this out, make sure it works, but everything should be, everything should be in a good state now. So we shouldn't have to make you guys endure any more super long video. And like I said, this is the last thing we'll do here for these. We'll say if UIManager.instance.GPGS GPGS is authenticated equals true, and that is a method. If it returns true and is equal to true, then we can do all of these. And let's see. You know what? That's another way we can do that too. We can make sure it's in there. Okay, let's do this for all, guys, and then we'll do this Android var too. This is new. Okay. So if we're authenticated and the platform is Android, we post the scores to Leaderboard. And we know that was working already, so but it would just so happen to be working because we were authenticated. So we'll go ahead and put the check in just to be nice and proper about it. We will do our check. We will do our brackets. Oops. We'll go into our platform. And we'll copy this and bury this in here too. Oh, that one's already done. It was the ones up here that we didn't do this way. I know this probably looks kind of messy, guys, but I know I'm keeping it straight, but I know for those of you that are really new, it's probably not good that I bounce around so much and everything, so I apologize. Okay, so that's that. And then this is out of place. Okay, let's start greater than 15. We'll have to close these up real weird. Okay. All right, so if we're authenticated, if we're on the Android platform, which I guess this is a freaking oxymoron here because this should be first. Wow, guys. I screwed us up there. Wow, that's ridiculous. All right. Take these out. Bring these back in. I'm sorry, guys. So if authenticated is enough, post the score. If authenticated, do this. If authenticated, get rid of this one too. There's no need for it. Okay, so 1, 2. If authenticated, post the score. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that's 8 of them. What are we missing, guys? Number of rounds. Our distances. We've got our 15 and 5. So, with rounds, distances, 15 and 5, buy your first ship, which, of course, is in the player select. Player select canvas, and we'll just do our authenticated check here. So, I'm sorry, guys, for us putting the authenticated and the platform check. I realized after the fact that was ridiculous. So, let's see. So, if UIManager.instance.GPGS is authenticated, brackets equals true, then go ahead and give this achievement. Oh, 2 equals. Alrighty, guys. This should definitely be everything. The sign-on flow should be proper now. You know, we should have the proper checks and everything in there, and I think that everything's going to be good. So we don't have Silent doing any of the score posting. Alright, guys. So I'm going to go and build this to device. I will have a short video on there, you know, just a minute or two of it working so you can see unlocking achievements. You already seen the posting leaderboard. You already seen the sign-in button, though that was kind of busted. But now, you know, I'll make sure I push this, update it. We will, you already seen the update process in the last part. So this should be it, guys. So I am really sorry this all took so long. I should have planned it better and tried to keep some of the banter down, but I thought for people that were starting out, it might be useful to, you know, to see the entire process step by step. So, all right, guys, I'll see you on the device. Alrighty, finally you can see here, I've got the update pushed. I'm launching the app. I've actually already played one, so you can see that I actually unlocked 2 of the achievements, which were the 2 of the really quick ones. It was the 5 gem one and the 10 rounds version. So I just kind of show that here, and the sign in, sign out flow is, you know, is all working properly now. So if you're signed in, you stay signed in. We do a silent, and if you're not, it doesn't silently sign in. You can see there, I've got that achievement unlocked, and the one under it. So yeah, guys, everything seems to be in good shape. So now when you first log on, you know, it'll try to do a loud sign in as opposed to a silent sign in, if you want to call it that, you know, and then if you opt for it, it'll stay, and if not, it won't. And all the achievements seem to be working, so we're good to go. I may make some additional changes to this, and it's just going to be additions, you know, kind of polishing some things. But I will make those changes in the scripts that I've been editing, and then those updated versions, the final versions, will be the ones that I share. I'll probably make like a PasteBin link or something like that so that you can grab them so you don't have to go through this entire video if you don't want to. So, alrighty, guys. Well, that is it. Have a good one. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.